Okay, we'll go ahead and kick off our briefing agenda for Monday, June 27th, 2022. We'll begin with our Office of the Washington State Auditor entrance. Good morning. Tammy, are you leading us on that? Or Leo?
I do believe Vinny will probably start. He's our audit supervisor.
Great.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm Vinny Shield. I'll be supervising the audit this year. I'm also joined by Tammy Lane, who is the lead on the audit and will be in charge of most of the day-to-day work on your audit. And Darcy's also joining, who will be doing all of the work on your many COVID grants that you received this year. So we do have prepared a PowerPoint presentation that we'll be going over that works quite a bit better for these virtual type meetings versus the paper handout that we normally go over. But we will still send that out to you so you have that document. So I will share my screen so we can go over the presentation shortly. Perfect. Okay, so you should be seeing the PowerPoint. Just let me know if that's not working. But otherwise, I will get right into it. Our office, the State Auditor's Office, we're tasked with being the auditor of all public funds in the state and then have a responsibility for auditing all state and local governments. We have about 15 offices spread out all throughout the state. And each year we conduct about 26 or 2,700 audits, depending on the year. So on this slide, you'll see an overview of all the different types of audits that we generally perform. Highlighted in color there are the two audits we plan on performing this year, specifically for Mason County. We'll be doing a regular financial audit, as well as a federal grant audit for some of the grants that you received last year. You will note we are not planning on doing an accountability audit, which we generally perform each year. With the significant increase in grant funding that's happened over the last couple of years, our office has seen a big workload increase, of course, where we lag behind 1 year between when you actually use the funds. So we've seen a big increase there. So we're focusing on getting those audits done before their deadline. Of course, in our office has experienced staffing shortages like many other entities have lately. So the accountability audit still will happen in the future. We are planning on covering a 2-year period next year's audit. So we still ultimately will be performing that audit. It'll just be pushed back a year. And then before going into the specifics of the work we'll be doing, we find it helpful to break down and give a high-level overview of everyone's responsibilities. So of course, governance starts at the top with your elected commissioners. Overall, they establish oversight for the county as a whole, and set the overall directions and priorities for your organization. In addition to that, they also are responsible for making decisions which are transparent to the public and in establishing a culture of accountability throughout the government. So they can be thought of overall as setting the direction for your organization and monitoring your operations to make sure you stay the course. And then next down, of course, management also plays a key role in overall being responsible for carrying out the commissioner's directions and monitoring your day-to-day operations. They're involved in setting up specific procedures and programs to carry out the commissioners, the overall directions of the government in managing your finances, preparing financial statements, monitoring your internal controls to make sure your operations are performing well, all those sorts of things. And then finally, we have our role as an auditor is to conduct an independent examination as to whether your organization is complying with the various financial, federal, and state requirements that are out there, as well as your own local policies and procedures. Our audit also considers whether public funds are appropriately safeguarded. It is important to note, we of course don't have the time available to provide absolute assurance on our audit by reviewing every single program or transaction which takes place during the year. We instead utilize a risk-based approach to focus our time on the best areas or highest risk areas. So with that, if there aren't any questions at this point, Tammy will be discussing the first audit, our financial statement audit.
Okay, our financial statement audit is going to cover fiscal year 2021, so January 1st through December 31st of 2021. The purpose of this is to issue an opinion based on the regulatory basis of accounting, because the county is cash basis. So we will be issuing the opinion on that, as well as issuing the usual adverse opinion as per GAAP, because the county does report based on cash basis. We will complete our audit in accordance with government auditing standards. We will also assess the internal controls over financial statement preparation, determining if there's any material misstatements in these reports, as well as instances of material non-compliance. So that's our overall, what we really do for the financial statement is determine if they're fairly presented. And our next slide goes into the information regarding our single audit, which is covering the same fiscal year. We will be giving the same opinion as to if the county has ran the programs in compliance with uniform guidance. Those are the federal guidelines for each program. We will material non-compliance. So we will look at the same. And on our next slide, we actually have the 3 programs that we will be covering this year, which the first one is the COVID-19 Coronavirus Relief Fund. We did actually audit this in the prior year, so we will audit that one again this year. The COVID-19 Emergency Rental Assistance, and then the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds, which I do believe ARPA is the informal acronym for that one. These programs were had large expenditures, and so altogether this covers 59% of the total CFA for 2021. And we'll look at each of these programs for these programs. To Vinny to go over some small housekeeping items.
Thank you. Yeah, we just have a few other things to go over. Another important part of our office is staying connected, not just during the audit while we're actually on site performing work, but all throughout the year. We like to start by offering pre-audit meetings where where our clients find them helpful. It's never too early to get prepared for an upcoming audit. So those pre-audit meetings give us an opportunity to share some resources with you, just discuss the upcoming audit, what works best for you on-site versus off-site, and also gives us an opportunity to make some initial requests so your staff have more time to pull documents before we begin in earnest. And then also, in addition to that, we have the engagement letter, which is signed by both our office as well as your representatives. That letter outlines the upcoming audit and as well as the work we're going to do, what the expectations are for us. And it also outlines the overall cost of the audit, and those sorts of things. In addition to that, we conduct risk assessments during the planning stage of our audits. We speak with a couple members of management and at least one person on the governing body to get your input and see if there's anything you are interested in having us review. And then we also conduct weekly status meetings. That's one of the most important things for keeping you up to date on where we're at in our audit. If there's anything that looks like a potential issue, if there's anything we're waiting on that we need to wrap up our work, as well as the next steps we have for wrapping up the audit. And then getting towards the end of the audit, we have the management representation letter. That again is essentially a confirmation of the engagement letter that we provide at the beginning, again outlining responsibilities and those sorts of things. And then of course at the end we have our exit conference, where we give you an opportunity to go over the results of our audits, any feedback or suggestions we have. So we work with management to schedule that towards the end for a time that works well for you. And then throughout our audit, we may find some recommendations which are necessary to be brought to your attention. So overall, we have 3 main levels of recommendations that are sort of in descending order of significance. So first off, there we have the audit findings. Those are the highest level recommendation we have as an office. In addition, those are the only recommendations which are included in full in their entirety in our audit report that's released to the public. So that information gives the public, provides the public information on what exactly our results were and what our recommendations are for taking action, corrective action on those things. In addition to that, the next level below, we have management letters. Those are less significant than audit findings, but they're still important enough to be brought to the board's attention as well as management in a formal letter. So those are not discussed in detail in our audit reports. We simply just make reference to them in our public audit reports and say the general area where our management letter is applicable to. And then lastly, we have exit items, which are very common on all of our audits. Those are the lowest level recommendations. And we liken those to be minor housekeeping items that we bring to your attention. It could be best practices or really minor things we find during the audit. So we bring those up generally just to management since they're minor. So action can be taken on those if necessary to prevent them from possibly becoming larger issues in the future. And then I also want to take an opportunity to share a few important reminders with you when it comes to confidential information. We are committed to protecting and safely handling any private or confidential data during the course of our audit, things like payroll records, personnel records, those sorts of things. So of course we want to remind you if our work involves any of those sorts of things, please reach out to us before sending them just so we make sure we're doing that securely. And then secondly, we have we'll also provide an estimate of our audit costs in the packet that Tammy is going to send out. This estimate is a little lower than our estimate last year since we're not performing an accountability audit this year, but it will be partially offset by an increase in grant work, but overall a reduction from our estimate last year. And thirdly, we do have an audit dispute process. We of course try to work things out with you during the course of the audit, but if there's any reason where you feel like you're not getting through to us or have a difference as far as recommendation level, or if something is an issue, anything like that, we do have an established process that to go through progressive levels of our management all the way up to our elected state auditor, Pat McCarthy, if necessary, if you feel like you're not getting through to us, so that is available. And lastly, we'd also like to remind governments about loss reporting requirements. So if your staff become aware of any known or suspected losses of public funds or anything being stolen, things of that nature, there is a requirement to notify our office just so we remain aware of what's happening to local governments. Sometimes places might hesitate to do that because they think we might immediately jump out and perform a review anytime a loss submission comes in, but that's not generally the case for most minor things. It overall allows us to monitor things and see if there are any particular trends when it comes to losses. And then we do also have some reminders about cybersecurity issues. There are some changes there. So the main thing is when it comes to local governments, there's a requirement now to report any possible cybersecurity issues to the state attorney general's office if it involves more than 500 people. And then in addition to that, when it comes to any sort of financial records or payouts or ransoms, those sorts of things, there's a requirement to report those to our office once you become aware of them. And then getting towards the end of our presentation, one of the common questions we get is if anyone audits our organization, and the answer is yes. We can't avoid the audit process either. So we go through that every 3 years. The National State Auditors Association, that consists of auditors all throughout the country, in different states, come out and review our records and our audit work and our files to make sure we are meeting standards. So we do have a link there to our most recent results. We are pleased to say that in our most recent review, they gave us their highest rating, which was a pass, which doesn't sound great, but that is the best rating they can give. And it just goes to show that sometimes auditors aren't the best at giving out kudos or saying things went well. That is something our office tries to emphasize more during our entrance conferences, or excuse me, I should say our exit conferences. We always try to highlight things that went well during the audit and give credit where it's due. And then also, besides just audits, we do offer other support to your government at no cost. So first, we have our local government support team. They mainly help your finance staff with any specific questions they have, or if they are having any trouble submitting your financials during the year, they're available to help out with that. They also conduct trainings throughout the state, also throughout the year, providing guidance on any changes in the world of accounting or finance. In addition to that, we also have the Center for Government Innovation. Their focus is more on lean improvements, process improvements, team building workshops, those sorts of things. One common area is if you're interested, some places have been interested in, say, improving the permitting process or speeding it up. They can lead a workshop to outline that process and see if there's efficiencies to gain there. So if there's anything of that nature that you're interested in, you're more than welcome to reach out to them to get see what they were able to offer and get something scheduled with them. So that concludes our presentation. So we want to thank you for joining today, and we'd be happy to take any questions or comments from you at this point.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Trask, any questions or comments?
I don't. I'm hoping that you find nothing. That we excel in everything. I'm hoping that we get a pass.
Great. Yeah, and I'll just appreciate all the work that SAO does with us. It's definitely feels like a partnership. And I know that's not always the case in some of the other organizations that SAO audits. And so just appreciate the partnership and collaboration, and just a hat tip to our team here as well at the county, Leo and everybody in the financial services office, as well as our budget and finance team over here on the commission side. So look forward to a good audit. Leo, is there anything you'd like us to know, or anything you want to say before we got our friends from SAO loose?
No, I can't think of anything other than if anyone has any questions or if they need any help during the audit, I'm always available. And my appreciation to SAO and the county staff as well.
Excellent. Very good. Well, Vinny and team, thank you so much, and look forward to future updates.
Yeah, thank you. Hope you enjoy your afternoon.
Great, thanks.
Right. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Okay, next up on our agenda, we have Superior Court. I see Judge Goodell is logged in here, as well as Jim Madsen. Judge and Jim, are you guys available and ready to proceed? We're a little bit early.
Yeah, I'm here. Judge Goodell was going to step down off the bench, and I instant messaged him about a minute or so ago. So it may be just a second before he jumps on.
Okay. I think you have a pretty clear-cut request in front of us. So if he's super passionate about briefing it, we could wait for him, but I'm certainly supportive. I want to see everything kind of keep moving for you at the court commissioner level. So
yeah, thank you. He just messaged that he's stepping down.
Okay.
So he should be on in just a moment. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I can say that in your packet, the contract that I sent did have one error on the very last page. I had a previous commissioner's name on there, so I changed that, and Tim Whitehead has the new version, and he signed it this morning. So just so you guys know.
Great. Judge, how are you?
Morning, busy morning this morning. I just was up on the bench and stepped down. It is so nice being able to access these things by Zoom channel from my chambers right behind the courtroom. So everybody's waiting on me right now, but this is very important to us. And I don't know what Mr. Madsen already explained to you, but I just want to put on the record that we were very pleased with the response to our request for court commissioner in this county. We had some very highly regarded and highly qualified people apply. It was a very difficult decision, but we think we made a very good decision. We're happy to have landed upon Teresa Butler, who was willing and motivated to be our court commissioner, and so that we have selected her. Do you have any questions about the proposed contract?
Commissioner Trask?
Yeah, no, I don't have any questions. I'm excited to see it move forward, and also want to comment on Friday's swearing in ceremony. I think that she's a great addition to our court system. Yeah, so welcome Judge Brown Ferguson, or Ferguson Brown.
Ferguson Brown, that's right. Yeah, we had a great swearing in ceremony. We had 13 judges or court commissioners that were present to be there to observe that, including one of our justices from the Supreme Court. So it was a very good day.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's obviously we'll miss having Judge Finley around with her years of experience, but definitely excited for Judge Ferguson Brown and her tenure here at the Mason County Superior Court. So look forward to meeting her as she settles into her new role. So and also supportive of moving forward with the contract that you brought forward here for the court commissioner. So
okay, very good.
Excellent.
Okay, well, thank you, commissioners.
Great, thanks, Judge.
Okay.
Take care. Jim, all good? Excellent. Okay. With that, we will move on to our next item. I don't see Peter on here yet. We're about 15 minutes ahead of time. Mark, do you want to maybe give Peter a quick call, and we can maybe pause for a couple of minutes? Thanks. Okay, we'll try to come back maybe at 9:30 if that works, Mark. Okay. Hi, Peter. Good to see you.
Hello.
We'll come back here into our briefing and have Peter Jones, Chief Public Defender, on our agenda. Peter, what do you have for us?
This is and I presented as part of the briefing packet, this is the MOU with Sean Tashner's office regarding what we would have to pay them. We kind of already briefed what it would be. It's just an approval of the MOU itself. It would extend Sean Tashner's district court representation to include the district court therapeutic courts for an extra $500 a month.
Commissioner Trask, any questions, comments?
No questions. It looks pretty good to me. And you feel good about this, Peter?
I feel that if the district court is going to proceed with doing the therapeutic court, that this is a necessary function and this is a reasonable price range with which to do it. And so, yeah, I feel good about the contract. I don't know if the commission is asking me whether I'm recommending that we do the therapeutic court or not, which is a different question. But in terms of the contract itself, yes, I feel good about it.
All right. All right. No, it looks good. And I think it's needed. So thanks.
Okay.
Okay, Mark, I see your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. This is right in line with what we briefed the board on earlier, as we were kind of going through the changes that would be necessary in order to implement I feel like it's kind of a joint therapeutic court. So it works with the city and the county together in identifying specific options that individuals in our judicial side didn't feel like we had options for through district court. So this is something that we already passed the budget side of this, and this is actually the contract that's just following up to provide Peter with the resources that he needs to respond.
Great. Yeah, I appreciate that background and context there. I'm definitely supportive of moving the contract forward as well, so that we're able to provide that compensation.
As am I.
Very well.
Great. Thanks, Peter.
Thank you. Anything further you need me for?
I think we're all good.
All right.
Thank you.
I will speak with you later then. Bye-bye.
I'm searching down Dan, commissioners. So
Okay.
sec.
Hey, Dan, how are you?
Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, everybody.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and dive right in, Dan.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it. You should have received the spring quarterly report from WSU Extension. I'm just going to go briefly through some of the pieces of what we've been working towards and working on. This is the spring report. Our summer activities are up and happening as well. 4-H Youth Development has just completed our Clover Kids program for the winter and spring. That's our monthly 4-H experience where people can kind of get to know 4-H a little bit without fully diving in and committing. We call on a lot of community organizations to help out. They made goat soap. Master gardeners came in and helped with planting and things like that. We had a robotics program come in and do that as well. Our youth gardening program has been a tremendous success. We paired up with Master Gardeners and we offered a youth-focused gardening opportunity. Tomorrow evening, they're going to be up at Catalyst Park working in their own garden beds as well as part of that experience. We wrapped up our archery program as well. We have a traveling archery program for 4-H that travels around. We bought a trailer with a grant and have this wonderful opportunity to get youth interested in archery. And now we have a new archery range out at our Panhandle 4-H camp as well. So that's going to be an up and coming building program. Tremendous success at that. At our fishing derby, we held 2 weekends ago, I think. We had over probably 350 people come through fishing at Panhandle, and about 100 youth stayed to learn how to do archery. So it's a wonderful experience that we have right here in our backyard. So a good upcoming program in that area. Our SNAP Ed program is really working with the farmers market. That is really getting families interested to come down to the farmers market, use their EBT credits, and to match and to bonus getting produce and things like that. Also, our SNAP-Ed program has been working with Mason County Therapeutic Courts and their cohorts, helping families use their resources wisely for healthy food choices. Small Farms has wrapped up their Cultivating Success program series, as well as moved towards the Master Gardener program has, I think it's 7. We have 7 new interns trained for Master Gardeners. That is an intensive program. They take classes, they have to take exams and do presentations to be a certified Master Gardener. So it's a wonderful tool that we have for these individuals as well. The Catalyst Park food garden growing area up in Shelton here is a lively place. Always have volunteers up in that area, pulling weeds, planting, organizing, and now donating food to our food bank locally for that. Plant sale was a tremendous success for the Master Gardeners. We hold it up at Lynch Creek Farms in their tents. Typically, we would hold it down at Neeland Park, but you can never count on the weather to be always great and beautiful. So with the setup and takedown needed every day, they shifted it up to Lynch Creek in their huge tents. And it has been a tremendous blessing in that area. People drive in, they can still shop through the tents, but they can do also a pickup order. So it's a great way to balance both of those pieces. And of course, our Not Just Weed program is out in the field doing the things. Just connected, we were just at a staff meeting where Pat was explaining to her about a new plant. It's called Perennial pepperweed up in Hood Canal area, which is not a very good plant to hear about. So they've been working with a lot of folks to try to mitigate what that looks like and things. So a wonderful opportunity for education and a wonderful opportunity to realize that we have a tremendous department here dedicated to keeping bad plants out of Mason County, trying to help the agriculture, the streams and the salmon and everything else that we possibly can to keep Mason County up. So that's kind of the program in a nutshell. We have a lot of up and coming things for the summer. Our 4-H summer camp is back. That has taken a tremendous amount of our time navigating the COVID style of everything. And as you know, it's a very emotional topic for a lot of individuals. So balancing out those pieces, I'm proud to announce that we have 80 campers registered. That is our goal. So hopefully that number stays at 80. We can take up to 100. So we're excited about that opportunity. So for 4-H, our fair is up and coming as well. So there's a lot of resuming what it used to look like pre-pandemic, with a lot of the pandemic limitations and dialogue placed on it. So back when I thought I had it all dialed in for our programming efforts, everything kind of shifted, which isn't a bad thing, but it just allows a lot more dialogue to be happening and safe planning. So with that, that's kind of the program report in a nutshell. Any questions from commissioners or Mark?
I might have to get the roasted asparagus pesto pasta salad recipe and the jicama pineapple smoothie. I like jicama, but I've never considered it to be a part of a smoothie.
I've never added it to a smoothie either, but I guess it's a hit.
You can add anything to a smoothie.
Not anything.
I'll make sure and let Diane know that there's some more greens out there available for her.
She's our resident smoothieologist. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the things that I'm always interested in, I was really interested to hear about the SNAP program working with therapeutic courts. I think that's a really, really neat partnership. Because so much of the therapeutic court process is about connecting folks to resources and providing, just that extra level of support. And so it's a really neat thing to hear about today, Dan. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I love the quote of the therapeutic court participant in the report. She said, "I never know what to make for meals for my family, and that is such an anxiety-inducing thing."
Yeah.
So I love that now there's a tool and a process to help mitigate that.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Good. Well, I appreciate all of your support. It's a busy time here, which is great. We are seeing an uptick in our master gardeners coming in. people are bringing in plants and bugs regularly now. It's that I don't want to say it, but post-pandemic, we're getting the rush now with everything growing. Everyone wants to identify what is going on. So we are regularly seeing that, which is fantastic, as well as our food preservation stuff is really taking off now too. I'm the person in Grays Harbor as well, and tragically we had a botulism case that the individual died in Grays Harbor a few months ago. So food safety, food preservation is a real thing. It's not a 1950s thing. It is back, and our office offers help and support. You can get your pressure gauge tested here, so that we provide safe practices in that area. So that's an exciting opportunity for us.
Gosh, wow, what a great reminder.
Yeah,
Take this
absolutely.
thing seriously.
Don't trust grandma's old canning recipe, please. So.
For
With
sure.
that, I appreciate all of your support. I know the Not Just Weed program is going to be transitioning some staffing coming up. Mark, I'd love to chat with you about kind of what the plan is to move that. I think it will impact the budget a little bit as Lisa and I are preparing our budget moving forward. So I'd love to connect with you, Mark, and just have a conversation. I'll send you an email. Find a time.
Absolutely. Let me know when you're in town and I'd be happy to come down and meet with you. Wednesdays
Awesome.
through Fridays usually work best.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, commissioners. Appreciate it.
Okay, we'll move into support services. Mark, you have everybody ready?
Yeah, I think we're ready to go. So I'll start off with Diane's request to fill a vacant generator position. This is in our Mason County Lodging Tax Advisory Committee. We had an individual, Nathan Welch, who resigned, thank you for your service while you were with us. We've got an individual, Greg Oldham, I think is how you pronounce it, who is applied to serve on the committee. And as Diane tells me, it's often difficult to find generator positions. So people that are out there generating these fees, a little easier to find spenders, but you'll see in her summary that she put together here, Sean Tucker is a current generator, and if you guys accept Greg's application, he would be our other generator. And then we have Pam Voles, Heidi McCutcheon, and Dwayne Wilson as our spenders. Don't really think that there's any budgetary impacts to this. It's a volunteer position.
Yeah, that's my committee, and great people on that committee. I think that Greg would be a good addition. So I support it.
Excellent. Yeah, I agree. I think Greg would be really helpful on the committee, and so I support moving him forward as well.
Great, thank you. And for the public, if you'd want to look, you can look through the materials and you can see Greg's application. So he's in real estate and is definitely involved in the tourism industry, and that he owns Hood Canal Vacation Rentals. So welcome aboard.
Fantastic.
So moving on to our next one, just making sure I see Jen on here. There she is. Thank you, Jen.
Morning. Yeah, thank you, commissioners. Thank you, Mark. So we have our May financials, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, can everybody see the May 2022?
Yep.
Okay, so starting out with the revenue for current expense, we're at $20,012,382 collected through May of this year, compared to last year at this time, $18,993,895. So we are at 49% of our budgeted revenue for 2022 and 48% compared to 2021 at the end of May. Any questions, feel free to stop me whenever. I'm going to move on to the treasurer's revenue detail. So through May, for just the treasurer's department, we have collected $14,711,492 through May. Compared to last year, $13,297,530. We are at 55% of our total budgeted receipts this year. Compared to last year, we were at 51%. So that looks really good. Just looking at it, the amounts that were over the PUD privilege tax, we're about 800,000 collected this year. I believe we received that later in the year last year. So that's a big factor in why we're over. And then the city county assistance, 1,189,000 collected this year compared to close to 500,000 last year at this time. And I need to look into if we collected more. I believe we collected more later on in the city county assistance. So I'm not sure why we are over this year so much, but I'll look into that. Any other questions or any questions on this before I move on to the expenditures?
No.
Okay. So on the current expenditures, we're at through May, $16,257,662 compared to last year, $15,338,777. We're at 37% of our total expenditure budget this year compared to 38% last year. So overall, that looks really, really good. Moving on to the special fund comparisons. Special, and some of this is current expense also, but just a few revenue stream comparisons. So we are under on our community development revenue, and I believe there's an expenditure sitting out there that hasn't been collected of approximately 200,000, but I believe Kel and Kathy are going to talk about that at some point, maybe today or next briefing, I'm not sure, but they can answer any questions on that. And then everything is kind of all over the board this year compared to last year. So we're over in our rural sales and use tax fund. We're under in our filings, which makes sense with interest rates going up. There's going to probably be less filings happening, not as many people refinancing, that sort of thing. But we're really over in our REIT, so people are still purchasing property. That's a good sign. And then our lodging taxes is up a lot. So any questions, comments on this before we move on?
No, that's very interesting.
Okay, so moving on to our sales tax. So in May, we collected about 820,000, close to, and that is a record sales tax collection for us. So so that's awesome. We've collected so far this year $3,486,777, and if we collect from June through December, exactly what we did last year, we would be at 8,753,000 at the end of the year. Last year, we collected 8.4 million. So, so our sales tax is looking really healthy. So keep buying online. So for our 6-year financial recap, our cash for current expense is at $25,539,377 at the end of May, and you can see all of our reserves. And we should probably talk about including another reserve in here really soon, so we can be thinking about what that might look like, maybe a capital reserve. And I can brief on that separately later on, maybe in July.
Yeah, good to me.
Okay, great. Our budgeted revenue, again, for current expense, we're at 49% of our budget for our collections. And then for our expense, we're at 37%. So this trend has been it's been for the last few years, we've been over on our revenue and under on our expenditures. So anyway, that's been a good trend, but and it may start to go the other way soon. I don't know, but for right now, things are looking good. For our cash and our special funds, we are at a total of $47,706,835. And compared to the previous 5 years, that looks very, very healthy. We do have the ARPA fund close to $5 million sitting in that total, but even so, we're still way above where we were in the previous 5 years. So that looks really good. For motor pool, we have budgeted $1.5 million and we have spent $834,000. We're at 55% of our total budget, the benchmark being 41.66, but it's not going to be evenly distributed every month because of the capital upfits. We are over on our total capital upfit budget, and so we may need to add a little bit into that budget later on. And then we are also way over on our fuel. So, that was to be expected. We didn't anticipate that the fuel would be so high last year during our budgeting. So we'll probably be coming back and asking for a little bit more spending authority on those few items. On the revenue for the special and other funds, we're at $23,126,052 collected through May, compared to last year, $23,772,566. We're at 32% of our total budget this year compared to 55% last year. And on the expenditure side, for our special and other funds, we're at $17,936,390 expended compared to $20,605,969. So we're at 22% this year expended compared to 40% last year. And that kind of corresponds with the revenue. So any questions on any of this?
No.
Okay, great. So so then we'll move on to, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. We'll move on to the 2023 budgeted rates. So we have the internal cost allocations, the information technology, the state auditor's office charges, unemployment, and motor pool. And for this year, the internal cost allocations, or for this year being 2023, the internal cost allocation is $1,835,981. Last year it was $1,706,612. And the information technology rate, $1,151,133 compared to last year, $922,720. And that's an increase of $228,413 overall for all county funds, which seems like a lot, but we are including Microsoft 365 in that total. That's about $122,000. And that has been ran through the IT steering committee. For the SAO charges, the distribution, we have $140,000 planned to be budgeted, which is what we normally plan for every year. And every year we're slightly under that amount, or we have been at the last few years. For unemployment, the budget is $76,204 compared to last year, $73,420. And the 2023 motor pool rate for 2020 for next year, $1,508,894. And this year, so far, we have budgeted $1,503,381. So that's an increase of just 5,513, which most of that is due to the fuel going up. We did plan for an increase over last year's fuel, of course. So that's the major increase on the motor pool rate. So questions or comments on the rates?
Not at this time.
No, I mean, they all look pretty straightforward. And I think, obviously, like you mentioned, the IT one is probably the most noticeable jump, but that's, I think that's in large part because we're making a more concerted effort to really, upgrade and, just sort of solidify the IT side of things, which is just so critical to the work that we do anymore. So I think those are worthwhile investments.
We're also in the process of implementing multi-factor authentication. So those increases, we will see some increases associated with that also. Yeah, and I mean, that's, what you're paying for there is some insurance and security from outside threats on the cyber side, which is just, going back even a couple of months ago when we got really pelted with pretty significant phishing attempts. Our team did a fantastic job at trying to ward as much of those off, but there's also some other things that we can be doing in order to strengthen it so that we're protecting ourselves all the way around, as well as some requirements from risk pool on how certain authentications are happening, and so it's worthwhile.
Yeah, IT really does a lot with the limited budget that they do have, and especially with the costs seem to increase in IT rather rapidly. So yeah, while it does seem like a big jump, I agree that yeah, it's we're not being frivolous with their budget for sure.
Happy to, sorry to interrupt you, Jen, but just to give the board a quick update that TJ and Ben were able to hire another person. So they will have a replacement for, help me out, Jen, who was it that left?
Rex.
Hired Rex, thank you. Actually, no, Rex left. Yeah, so it's very tough positions to fill. Super interested. We have an applicant that's coming in that has a lot of interest in getting really into the IT field, and this is a position that I think will be perfect for that applicant as well as our team, and I'm excited to see how they can help out.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's great news.
Yeah, we have a good solid team, so another solid member is make it even better.
Yeah, for sure. And in the motor pool rate, the 1.5 million included in that is our enterprise request for vehicle orders, which is our next briefing. So so if we're done with the rates, we can move on to the order requests. So we are requesting 7 vehicles this year, 3 PPVs or police pursuit vehicles, and then 4 white fleet vehicles. So the police pursuit vehicles we're requesting is 1 Ford Police Interceptor Utility and 2 Chevy Tahoe K9 units. And then the white fleet side, we are requesting 1 Ford Escape 4x4 for the sheriff department, and then 1 Ford F-150 for the sheriff litter pickup, 1 Ford Ranger Super Cab 4x4 for facilities, and then 1 Ford Transit cargo van for the coroner. So commissioners, I would request that these vehicle orders be placed on the next action agenda for the chair to sign, and we can get those orders started. And these may, if we order them now, there's a chance that they could come in 2022, or in 2023. So if they come in 2022, we would need to do a budget amendment. But I believe most likely they would come in and go into service in 2023. So any questions on the vehicle orders or comments?
Now, I know that it's difficult to get anything now, so we might not see them until 2023.
Especially the pickup trucks. It seems like that's been a challenge for us, some of the larger pickup trucks. So definitely getting on the list and being prepared to, or at least getting our request in with Enterprise helps us be on top of that list.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah, so definitely supportive of moving forward with this. And, you know, the one line in the executive summary on the briefing sheet, you know, it said these 7 vehicles complete the first round of capital leases since we started this program. And then what happens in 2024 is we're going through that cycle of replacement, which has been the one thing that has been sort of the driver of this program, is that we get ourselves on a regular vehicle replacement schedule. And so especially for the folks in the county that their car is their office, I think this is a really important thing for us to continue to focus on and make progress on, and just really grateful for staff being able to implement this program over the past couple of years, and some growing pains, I'm sure, along the way, and certainly some supply chain issues along the way. But I think this is a pretty significant investment for us, and a really, really positive step forward to getting on that routine vehicle replacement schedule. So thank you.
It's kind of funny. I think a lot of our vehicles were green, not because it was paint, but because they were well aged. And I wouldn't say that the tires were slicks, but they were. This is just a very good move for the county. I'm so happy that we did it.
Yeah, Enterprise has been really helpful, and we have a really great team here that works on the Enterprise vehicle side as well. So yeah, it's been a very positive experience, and I'm excited to get on that rotating cycle also. So thank you very much for being supportive. You
know, and another conversation for a future briefing on this, you know, would be, you know, what we're doing with, you know, when the leases expired, or we reach the end of the lease, we own the vehicle, and, you know, and then selling those. You know, obviously right now we're seeing an incredible market for all cars, but used in particular. And so be interested to hear, you know, some of the feedback, you know, from Enterprise, or, you know, from our fleet team, even about what we're thinking about, you know, once that lease is up, what we do with those vehicles to capture some of that benefit.
Yeah, Enterprise definitely helps us with that, you know, knowing when to sell the vehicles at the prime time. So yeah, we could ask them to come back and do a little bit of, you know, do a presentation. Mm-hmm. Sure. And right now, you know, last year we saw about 300,000, I believe it was, in cash from the vehicle sales. Well, now when we sell those vehicles, that sales amount goes back into the lease. It reduces our current leases. So that's why you're not seeing any cash coming back into that motor pool department this year. But yeah, we can definitely ask Enterprise to come in and brief on that.
Great.
So that's all that I have for you, commissioners. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. So our next item is John Taylor, I believe. John, are you with us this morning? Let's see John there. So this is, I can brief the board on this. John and Diane have kept me informed. So in the past, you know, the transition from baseball to soccer, it worked well when we had a break in between soccer and the next season of baseball, or the next getting into through winter. As you can imagine, some of the same fields that are used for baseball are also used for soccer. So as our weather changes and it gets really wet outside and our soccer players are out there running up and down the fields, it tends to beat them up pretty good. And then actually trying to recover and get the fields in shape for baseball season can be a challenge sometimes. So we did receive a request. We've kind of pushed back on the North Mason Soccer Club a little bit, saying we really want to define when your seasons are. Although it's a program that appears to be well organized, and they have a lot of kids that are involved in it. So love to see that part of it, but there is a balance with that. So the North Mason Soccer Club is asking to extend their soccer season to the end of November 2022. In order to do that, we would have to do a little bit more maintenance on the fields after they're done in order to get them ready for the spring, summer baseball season. So it does create a little bit of a challenge for us, but I don't think that it is insurmountable. It's just a little bit more work. So we wanted to bring this to the board and let you know that this request is out there and receive feedback from you guys.
So Mark, isn't a typical soccer season through October?
I believe it usually is through October, yes. But they're actually wanting to go through November.
What's their reasoning for that? Just for a longer season?
I believe that we actually got obviously, if we had our synthetic fields up there, this wouldn't be an issue, right?
Right.
So we have applied for those RCO grants to help us out with that.
Mark, it's Diane. I'm here.
Oh, hi, Diane.
Oh.
So in last year, the soccer club up there, they usually do go through October, but last year they had asked to extend it to mid-November. This year, right up front, they're asking to go all the way through November. I think they start their practice clinics in August, and they know their schedule takes them that long into November. And the challenge is then staff, they can't prep the fields for spring until after that. So then it just kind of runs into a problem for the spring baseball people. And that's why we just want to make sure the board's aware in case there's an issue in the spring with the baseball people. But their request is all the way through November this year.
Is that something, so I think that's my big concern is, our limited park staff, especially when, our seasonal extra help program ends up for the year, there's just their ability to do all the work, all the regular maintenance, plus this, I would be really concerned about. As Mark pointed out, I think, if we had the synthetic fields, it's a different story. It's a little bit different maintenance program, but is this something that could be mitigated by extending our extra help?
It's not so much the staffing, it's that the weather in November, that's not a good time to be planting and prepping, because usually come fall, early fall, staff starts getting the fields ready for the next spring, just like you would in your own yard. So really the concern is more of damage to the field that may or may not be repaired by springtime.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So I guess I hesitate just because of that. I mean, we're seeking some funds to, improve the field conditions up in Sand Hill. And until then, I guess I would be hesitant to approve an extension until we get that part of it sorted out.
Yeah, I think I'm concerned with that as well. My granddaughters already and grandsons have already started soccer, and they will be finished before then.
Right, this is the fall soccer, because there's a summer and then there's a fall.
And then the fall, okay.
Yeah, and like Mark said, it's not insurmountable. And, we hesitate, of course, we want the kids out there playing, but we just don't want the fields to be trashed. And then come springtime, the baseball people end up, our concern too is always safety. So you want the fields in good shape for baseball.
Right, right.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just, I would say probably let's hold off on this approval now. That would be my opinion, and let's maybe continue to work it and see if eventually as those field services change. But I think for this year, I'm probably a no.
Yeah, and I'm in support of holding off on it for a little while. Commissioner Schutte, Commissioner Netherland, this is obviously in his district. He may have more detailed information about this request and be more familiar with the groups that are wanting to go to November. He may have some additional information that I'm not aware of, but that would be great if we could get his input too.
Would be, maybe we should hold off until put this on next briefing so that we can get his feedback as well. And maybe there's other alternatives. Maybe we can find some different fields. Diane, do you know, I hate to make you talk more, do you know the field down here in our area? Would that be an option for them to use?
I don't know. The soccer club is not county, so I don't know about that. I know just recently our park staff, when there was no water up at the north end and there was a tournament up there for like baseball, and staff asked if they wanted to reschedule down here to the south end at MCRA, and the people had said no, they didn't want to travel. So really that's our problem, is we're so short on soccer fields. And even if this, we plan to do the synthetic fields, that construction starts 2024. So we still have a couple more seasons to get through.
Right. And with the price of gas too, that makes it even a tougher decision.
Yeah, another alternative would, maybe they could partner with North Mason schools and use their synthetic fields. Is that an option potentially?
Apparently that hasn't worked so well. The schools they seem to be used for schools activities. So the private clubs haven't been able to use their fields. Okay. Well, I think, go ahead. I was going to say, I can bring this back in July when Commissioner Netherland's there. And I have to say too, in the past, the soccer club, we try to work it out with them, and they're good to work with. They've offered, to try to maybe help restore the fields. And that really isn't the best option with our staff, because you have to know what you're doing and have certain types of seed and that kind of thing. So.
Right. I think there's other restrictions as well.
Yeah, Bud's always about safety, and he's very particular about, how these fields are treated. So.
Yeah.
Well, and he makes them look beautiful all the time. So.
He does. With limited resources, they do a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's noodle on this a little bit more, over the next couple of weeks until Commissioner Netherland's back, and then we can revisit it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
Thanks, Diane. So the next item on the agenda, if we're ready to move to it, is our it's a 2022 project priority list. So this is kind of the beginning, or the information that I'd love to sit down and have the commissioners review and be prepared. We have a retreat on July 19th. It's scheduled to kind of go through the details of some of these things. So I'll have the director from each one of these offices available to answer specific questions that you guys might have. So the intent of this is to really give you an overview of the items that we're going to be talking about, and to give you an opportunity to take some notes if you see some things that are not on the list. What I would be hopeful to receive, and I don't think our retreat is a success, if I'm able to prioritize these items after the retreat and make sure that I have a clear understanding and the directors have a clear understanding of the expectations of the board and what will be accomplished in 2022. And then also starting to look at how do we look into future years, 2023 and beyond. We have a lot of different reports that we're required to do, capital facilities plans. We have, you know, a lot of our transportation plans that we put together, and making sure that we have some consistency with, you know, as we go from plan to plan, along with our goals, gives us a realistic expectation of what we can actually get done and where we really need to focus our efforts and to be, you know, forward with the board. It's to get some direction from you to say, hey, these are priorities that we want to get done. And then if obviously as emergencies come up, we may have to address those items, but having a defined focus that I can work with the directors on to make sure that these things get accomplished is the hope that I would like to see us come out of this. So you can see that this is a pretty broad list of items. I think just to highlight a few that we have, obviously our Arpa funding, we're getting ready to distribute that. That's information that we've posted out online. So if anybody's on this briefing and is interested in applying for Arpa funds, please go out and to our website, and there's a form that you can fill out and request these funds. The board will be reviewing the items that they have received here fairly soon. Kate and Jennifer are working together to put that information, summarize it all and get it to the board. We haven't received a ton of them yet, to be honest with you. So, but the ones that we have received are big dollar ones. So obviously you can eat up $6.5 million fairly quickly. And I know that we have some internal goals that we'd like to see for the county also, potentially utilizing some of these ARPA funds. The crosswalk, the chart of accounts crosswalk is something that we've been working on with our auditor's office. The chart of accounts is really owned by the auditor's office and it's their responsibility, but super important for them to work with Jen and her staff, as well as all of the departments and offices throughout the county that utilize the chart of accounts, making sure that the account code structure meets the needs of what they need in from a reporting perspective. Because if we can create a very clear pattern and a very clear structure of that chart of accounts, then I think that we're going to be better off in the future, and we'll be able to start implementing some other modules that come with our financial application, Munis, that will definitely help us move into the future. And you know, I really think that in the top of my mind is the module for the personnel side of things, because along with that comes with electronic timesheets. So I'd love to see us be able to get to that. So as we move down to Central Services Administration, this is really Diane's group. You know, we're looking at, Mackenzie's looking at streamlining the agenda process. So how do we move items from a briefing onto the board's regular agenda? And so we're going to be briefing the board on some ideas that we have with that. We do have a new public records officer. James is with us now and is doing a great job and is getting a lot of public records requests. So we're keeping him pretty busy, but that's continuing to work. And as you kind of go down through these, you'll see, I'm not paying attention to number 5, the Secession Planning, because I'm just denying that Diane's going to retire at some point in the future. But I think it is smart for us to start to think about that because she has such large shoes to fill. And she
her feet are tiny, but her shoes.
Yes. Absolutely. A lot. It's going to take some planning to figure out how we're gonna fill those shoes. As we get down into the community development side of things, this is really Kel's department here, and you know, I think that a lot of it was just providing more information back to the board as well as to the community. And so as we often struggle to maintain full staffing, and that there's other challenges that come up. I know that Cal's worked really hard to create a lean process in order to get a good turnaround time, because I mean, it's pretty frustrating and we want to encourage development. So I feel like we're seeing larger development within Mason County that tends to be on the commercial side. Also multifamily, I would include those in the commercial side. In the past, it might have been predominantly residential. So as we transition into that, I think it's super important for the board to be aware of where we're at. And so I'm excited to see Kel and her team continue to develop her monthly reports to the commission to kind of talk about some of those details and be able to have it clear. Kel, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, we do have 2 people who are leaving us. So, and that does impact our turnaround times overall. We're trying to keep a tight knit group here, but we've got 1 building inspector who's going to leave us at the middle of August. So we do have some time. Hopefully we can backfill that sooner than later. It took us several months to backfill the last building inspector position, but and that person, Stephen Scott, he's leaving us to move his family to Florida. So I'm not taking that personally, but and we wish him luck there. And then we also have our planner, Melissa Paulson, is going to attempt to work in the private sector. So she's been asked to join SCJ Alliance, who I worked for in the past, and they are a great group. So hopefully she'll have a great experience there, and she is welcome to come back when she decides that she likes it here better. So I've let her know that she is someone that I would definitely rehire. So hopefully she'll dabble in some consulting work and decide she likes Mason County much better. I did check on some numbers this morning. I was on vacation last week, so I'm a little rusty and wasn't realizing what I was doing today. But I know that for folks who want to get building permits submitted, they can get an open appointment this week, within the week. So that's good. And next week, all days are available. It's a little spotty this week here and there, but we do have availability. Our inspection requests. We do inspections in 2 areas. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday area, and then a Tuesday, Thursday. So if you want inspections in the Tuesday, Thursday area and you call today, you're going to get it on Thursday. If you want it in the Monday, Wednesday, Friday area, we're into Friday and it's filling up. So that it may put you into next week. And then on the building permit turnaround times, we're back up to about 10 weeks. It's hard to say because, each building permit type is a little bit different depending on the plan reviewers that we have. So, but I think on average it's, and Todd's not with us today, but he'd let me know that it was around 75 days. So that's up from our low of 60, but it's down from where I start feeling that critical crunch of the 12 weeks. So we are staying under that. And let's see, what else did I have? I didn't pull any direct numbers as far as permit numbers coming in, but I'll send you guys those monthly reports just in an email with that spreadsheet so you could see the permit types and how many have come in compared to, I think we've been tracking that since 2019. And so you can see that in the spreadsheet.
And I think the other projects that Cal has on here in terms of the scanning and the smart gov improvements, those things all go hand in hand with really creating a more efficient process and then making information available to the public when they need it, right? So I think that we've done a great job. I can tell you that I've looked through a few on our environmental health side. I've looked through a few permits that we've issued for septics, and I feel like as soon as they're approved, they're scanned and put onto the system, and then, gosh, you can pull that information up fairly quickly. So super helpful for individuals wanting to get information or do research on certain parcels of property. So as we get those old files scanned and placed into the electronic files, then it'll make that process much easier, I think. Just excited to see that happen.
So Mark,
Yes.
Mark, just a quick question on the priority sheet. They're numbered 1 through whatever. So is the department's priority number 1?
That's the order in which they were given to me. So I'm assuming that they are in priority order. Kel, you could probably talk about that.
I'm sorry, did I miss what the list you're referring to?
So do you see what we've entered? It looks a little bit different because Mackenzie kind of consolidated all the lists that I received from each individual director onto one. But these are the order in which I received them. And so is this the priority order that you would?
Oh, for the scanning project?
So are you looking at our agenda briefing for today?
Mark, can you share your screen?
I can absolutely share my screen.
Thank you. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I didn't pull it. Yeah, 261 pages. I wasn't sure where it starts here.
116.
116.
I think. Let me see if I can.
Oh, okay. Yes, I remember this now. Sorry. We did this a while ago. Yeah, I did. The scanning project, of course, it's not a priority. It's not like what we do every day here. I mean, we're processing permits and doing long range planning. This is kind of a one-off project, but it is my priority for this year of getting all of that background work that needs to be done. So that when we, presumably, hopefully get some Arpa funds and we could start, and we'll have a couple new hires that will do the scanning project. We'll have everything in place for folks to successfully start scanning those records in appropriately so people could find them. Naming conventions is important. And so, yeah, I did give this priority because it's not something. It's just one of those projects that doesn't feel like, when you've got customers coming in every day and you're trying to do all this, it's a project that just gets left behind, for years, decades, never been done. And so if I didn't give it the priority, I felt like it may never get done. So it might seem like a strange thing to prioritize, but I think it'll really pay off to the public in the long run, for sure.
Yeah, I don't think it's a strange thing to prioritize at all. I think this just helps us become more transparent as well.
Yes, and my goal is to eventually have the record retention that the Environmental Health Department has. They've done an excellent job of getting those records, and Shelley and Sunny and whoever else is involved, they do a really good job on keeping up on that. And it's definitely a positive impact. So hopefully we'll get there as well.
Sounds great.
So Mark.
Yes, sir.
At the retreat on the 19th, is the plan then to have each of the directors or department involved here to kind of walk through each of these at that point?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So we'll definitely get into the details of them at that retreat, and be able to discuss the priority, and we can mix and kind of move these things around. And if there's items that you don't see on the list that you'd like to be, then I think that it's a good opportunity to present those to our directors and make them aware of that. But hopefully we can come out of that with a clear list of expectations in order.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to move on to the emergency management side. And hopefully you guys can see my screen now.
Looks good.
So the emergency management, John Taylor, our new emergency manager, has really been doing a great job of coordinating and really working with not only our internal departments, but also our external groups. So we have a lot of volunteers for search and rescue dive teams. And the coordination of all of those resources is essential to do it correctly through emergency management for a number of different reasons. But sometimes, one of the more important reasons is to make sure that individuals are covered while they're responding to an emergency. And then to ensure that if there is an opportunity to actually receive reimbursement for some of the costs that they incur, as long as we have a good structure set up and a good information gathering process so that we can properly report the details to the State Emergency Management Office, then that really helps us in the end be successful in our reimbursement requests. So there's a lot of specific details that you see in here that you might wonder, boy, what is a WM fire radios or these standby generators? It's making sure that our folks that are actually responding to this have the tools that are necessary. So John has been working on ensuring that we have a communications trailer in the rural areas of Mason County. It's often difficult to have radio communications, and I think that those are obviously essential to responding to an emergency. Have great involvement from our sheriff's department office right now, and they're getting involved with these groups, and we're meeting together and really just there's a lot of paperwork that's involved in documenting the training that these individuals receive, their skill sets that they have, the equipment needs that they have, and it seems like we're getting a lot of support, not only from the individual groups that provide these services, but also from our internal offices and departments that work through DEM.
Hey, Mark, real quick, if I could just jump in, would it be possible to have John reach out to FEMA so that they could give us an update of, I know we're kind of central to they used to call it Cascadia Rising. I don't know whether they call it that or not anymore. When I was at the Ledge, it was a very hot topic, and Mason County was a critical player in that. So it might be good just to have an update from them to see what they have planned for our area and where we can help them in further or help them help us get prepared.
Absolutely. So moving on to our facilities and grounds, I think that the biggest item on Kelly Fraser's list is Building 10 Phase 2. So this is actually finishing off the internal improvements. So we're wrapping up our external improvements. And if you've driven by our Building 10 lately, you should see some what looks like new asphalt, but it's just sealed with the fresh sealer, fresh paint. We have a lot of new pretty concrete work that was done around the facility. So we're wrapping up that contract right now, but going to be moving directly into the inside of the building now to ensure that it'll work for district court and then possibly some shared spaces for Superior Court too. So I'm excited. We have we've received, I think, 3 different proposals for our on-call architect, and would love to be able to utilize those folks to come in and help us define what needs to be done, do some drawings, and then determine how we want to go about getting that accomplished. So some things we may be able to do with internal staff. Kelly has an amazing team of folks that's able to do some internal building work, but this may be a little bit large for them. So definitely wanting to see how we move forward with Building 10. The other item that was on there is the relocation of facilities and fleet services. So this is we're going to be getting out of our Mel's lease in April of 2023. So Kelly and his team has really been working on trying to find alternative space for the things that we currently house in the Mel's building. We're making some great progress on that, and actually are getting ready to finalize the purchase of the PUD facility that's out on the Dayton Airport Road. And so that's going to be great for helping with that transition. And then Kelly has also found some space for his staff to be still centrally located, but they're going to be dispersed a little bit. But it's amazing what he figures out and how he's able to do more with less. But I think as we look into the future, I think that that's definitely something that the board needs to be aware of, that there are some space issues that are associated with offices and departments throughout the county that we're going to need to pay attention to. We definitely see an opportunity here to implement the new security system for our downtown campus. And this would be the same as what's out at our public works facility. Some new roofs and a training room would be nice for our. Actually, I'm not familiar with that. So I'll let Kelly talk about that unless Diane has something that she wanted to add on the downtown training room. But I know that we currently do that out of our human resources building. So we have a training room in there.
I'm here, Mark. Yeah, the thought was, if with all the moves to building 10, if everything works, then we're hoping maybe the modular would open up, which could end up helping Kelly out with his space needs. And then the front area could be a training area, so it's a little larger downtown, because building 9 is pretty small. And then the chambers, of course, too, are an odd configuration. So we're looking for just a bigger space downtown, so you don't always have to go out to Public Works when you're going to have a bigger group together.
That would be cool. I think we're probably one of the counties with the smallest commission chamber in the state. So lucky us.
So we've got moving on to information technology. You'll see some familiar topics on here when Jen was going through the budget. So definitely, I think that we are continually trying to stay full staffed while implementing some essential new security provisions to keep our information safe. And then the transition to Office 365 will be super important for the county too. Parks and Trails. There's some very specific projects in there that Parks put together for us. So that's nice. We want to lean to out at MCRA to store some of their equipment that they have out there. I skipped over the Latmer's dock replacement. I believe that one's a bigger one that's going to require some coordination and probably be more expensive. So we're definitely looking for some grants that could help us accomplish that. There's a Mason Lake dock replacement, Oakland Bay, and Sunset Bluff entry gates. So the field groomer, I think some of this stuff is obviously helping out at Sand Hill with the challenges that we have up there in maintaining our natural fields now, and having the necessary equipment might help them, as well as the equipment that's utilized by the individuals that use our space out on our parks departments. Moving on to public health. I saw Dave Windom on here. Dave, do you want to jump in and say anything about these priorities?
So some of these are really underway already. So as of today, we sent the first part of the application for the WIC clinic in. No guarantee that we'll get that, but it's a three-way partnership between us and the YMCA and Mason County Health. Evergreen Estates, that application has gone in. SmartGov staffing, and that's a priority, and it is for Cal. We just need a more training. A lot of our training, I think, was pretty limited at first, so we just need to get that more in depth. And then as we go down through the list, as the departments split, we come to that point, then we'd like to do some more work with rebranding public health and really addressing kind of the social determinants of health. And now that we have some funding coming, so we just got word that we've got another $500,000 coming to really address chronic disease. That's like 369,000 of that's just for chronic disease. So start moving into those things. So this is this is a short list actually of things that we could do, but it's the things that we thought needed the most attention right up front.
And that we could get accomplished in 2022.
Right. And some of these they're going to be mostly accomplished in 2022. Say WIC and Evergreen Estates, they're setting the stage. They have to get done in 2022 in order for us to be successful in 2023.
Thank you. I was just looking to see if I had Loretta on the line. Loretta,
just real quick, Dave. So one of the priorities, I know that you and I have talked about this, is really reaching out to our public and working on health issues. That's one of your priorities, I know. So is that on here? I was reading or looking for it, but I couldn't see it.
And I think, I don't know that I put it on here because it already is part of our Mason Matters process, but I think we have the ability, and I talked to DOH on Friday about how we can utilize funds that are coming to us, and they didn't have a problem with us, bolstering the ability of Mason Matters to do some of that work for us. So I didn't put it in here as a priority because it's really something that's ongoing work, but we'll have the money to start doing some things with it. So
cool.
But and the other part I didn't put on there is because we haven't seen it come to us in the contract yet. We've been told it's coming, checks in the mail, but until it shows up in contract language, I didn't really want to put it down.
Right, that works.
so by July 19th, we might have some more information that we could definitely bring back to the board.
We have seen the draft, but DOH contract staffing is way behind, like a long ways behind. So you remember last year we got funding on July 1st, but we didn't get the contracts until November. So it really kind of threw us out of cycle, and we're still recovering from that.
Okay. All right, great, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Dave?
No.
Okay. So moving on into Public Works, definitely have some opportunities to improve some of our efficiencies with our budgeted items, budgeted positions, some of our surplus procedures, road vacations. I know right away is a huge issue that we have that is continually a challenge to find staff and to help us out on it, or even external resources. But I feel like we're making some progress in that area. So I'm excited to see how that moves forward. There's some pretty specific road projects that they've listed through here, and some operations and maintenance with their chip seal program that they have in place. Skokomish is we've actually made, I feel like we're starting to make some progress on Skokomish, and we have some resources available to us now that may help us purchase. That's predominantly purchase of easements and right away in certain areas in order to implement help me out, Kevin. What is it? The Army Corps of Engineers.
Yeah, the Skokomish Valley project.
Yeah, Skokomish Valley project. So a little bit of more implementation of Go Fleet. Our solid waste is trying to find a time where we could actually close solid waste down to do some major maintenance on. Is a challenge because they're such heavily utilized facilities. Definitely have some work to do in code some work that we need to update and define and make clear, code associated with certain areas of our utilities. Have some work to do in Belfair for some lift stations and some membrane replacement. I think that stuff may sound familiar to you because as we've presented kind of the financial projections of Belfair, you've seen very specific costs associated with capital improvements that need to happen over the next 3 or 4 years, and even beyond that. Russellwood, we actually got a grant to do our electrical upgrades there. So definitely working on that, as well as some water quality improvements that we'd like to see. Sometimes we get some coloring in our water in Russellwood area. And I think it's predominantly depending on where it comes from, what individual well it comes from. So staff is really doing some work to identify those areas and then some potential opportunities to maybe drill a little bit deeper and get some cleaner water as we go down a little bit further. North Bay has some improvements, as you see there too. So on the admin and finance side of things, if you've been out to, is it Ells Hill Road? You'll probably notice that the timber harvest is complete. We have some upgrades to our HVAC and TBC. I believe that our I don't know if the commissioners are aware of this, but back when we were having some significant storms, probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we believe that our building actually got struck by lightning. And has really caused some problems with some of the electrical components within the building. And so I feel like we're still chasing some of those things down and trying to make sure that they're up and operational. But it's pretty amazing what a major storm can do. I know that they're working with Nicole on this to kind of document what those costs are and potentially turn in an insurance claim for it. But wanted the board to be aware of some items that we're working there too. And I don't see Loretta on here yet. Oh, there she is. Hi, Loretta. You're on mute.
Excuse me.
So sorry, I didn't see you on there. I just jumped right into your section. Do you have anything to add to that before we give the commissioners an opportunity?
No, and thank you for the recap, Mark. Some of these were well, actually this list was put together, gosh, 2 months ago, maybe, or longer. So some of the items have been picked off and some are higher priority than others. This was just a quickie note. And obviously there are a lot of details associated with our construction program that aren't laid out here that are just a given that we are delivering this summer. So there's a lot that is not captured here as well.
And so we have our board briefing coming up, or our retreat coming up on the 19th of July. Definitely interested in the board's feedback on what they'd like to see from Public Works, as well as Loretta, if you want to document things in a different way, then would be interested in presenting that to the board too, or at least having it. I'd like to get it to them a little bit beforehand so they can kind of
absolutely,
because you guys have so much detail in what you do and such a broad spectrum of responsibilities that.
Commissioners, are there any items on there that you want to drill down on or have some additional information on?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be completely honest with you. I want to take a little bit more time with this entire list and go through not just Public Works items, but all the other items on here. I certainly think this is a good start. In terms of presentation, and I think it would be helpful, as Loretta kind of pointed out, some of these things are in progress. It would be great to know what has been completed since this list was put together a couple of months ago. And then for the projects that are currently underway from all the departments, what percentage complete are they? A solid guesstimate on that would be really helpful as well to gauge the capacity that folks are going to have for the second half of this year in order to get those delivered. I think that would really affect what I bring to the retreat on the 19th.
Yeah, I think for me, I'd like to have a little bit more detail on a lot of the projects you guys have so much going on, and with everything going on everywhere, and it's your busy season too, because you're out there doing your roads and stuff. But I think maybe, getting your ideas of which ones are definitely a priority, and where, how, what I kind of like to look at this work session as is, how can we help you, help all the departments? We can do it as a team, but it's hard to do something by yourself. So if we're all on the same page, I love that Mark is doing this, because this is helping us work more efficiently as a county. So thanks, Mark, for doing this. And
the staff does all the work. This is definitely a start, and I definitely think that there's a lot of refinement that we can do to come up with a common way to present not only the specific projects, but also status reports of where we're at, and how do we continue to keep the board apprised of where we're at, and whether we're on pace to meet the goals and expectations for the year. It'd be nice to have, I kind of refer to it, a buzzword of a dashboard, but just something that's a centralized area for you guys to kind of be aware of what's going on. And when we have challenges that come up, which they always do, you guys are aware of what those are and can modify your expectations accordingly.
So Mark, is this a work session just for our departments, or does this include all other electeds also?
So I focus this on just our departments at this time.
Okay.
I definitely think that we can look at the goals of the rest of the county. I think that some of our divisions provide services to the rest of the county also, and so I think that priorities can be captured through there. But there is definitely some specific areas in our elected officials' offices and that exist within the county that I'm sure they would have very different, a very different list of items that are on there. So I guess the reason I focused on these first is because I feel like these are the departments that you have direct control over. And so we want to make sure that we can get those departments up and running well. And then the offices, as we enter into our 2023 budget development process, I think that the offices will definitely be coming forward with some of their asks and goals too.
Great. I'm so happy that you didn't say low hanging fruit. Sometimes those are the easiest, but they're not the tastiest.
Yes. They might have worms in them.
Right.
Okay, well, appreciate this first look at this, and I know I'm looking forward to coming back on the 19th with what I think the priorities ought to be based on this list, and maybe adding a few others as well.
Absolutely, thank you. And I'll be continuing to work with the directors on this list to refine it and make sure that we have all the documentation ready to discuss with you, and we can kind of do a good agenda where we can definitely dedicate some time and keep on track so that we can get through it all, because as you can see, it's pretty broad, pretty large list.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Thank you, Loretta. So I'm going to move on to my next topic here, which is we've received a couple of offers on our Public Works Drive. Public Works Drive is the name of the street. That we have some lots for sale out there. I believe there's 6 lots for sale. We have received an offer. This is our second offer that we've received on the purchase of Lot 8. So that was for $675,000. They put down $5,000, and then if they put down an additional $25,000, then they would have they'd have the right to purchase Lot 7 for $600,000. So just to give you a perspective, we currently have Lot 8 listed for $730,719. And we have Lot, you can see down on the list on the bottom. The Lot 7 is $664,296. The second offer that we received was from Island Enterprises, Inc. And this was an offer on all 6 lots. So the offer was for $2.5 million with cash earnest money, or cash with earnest money of $30,000 down. And then they would like an addendum to that agreement that says we have 2 additional options of 90-day extensions. And if we utilize those extensions, then they would pay $5,000 for each extension. The asking price for all 6 parcels, as you can see on the next line, is about $4.2 million. So an offer of $2.5 million in my mind is fairly low, and is something that we should definitely discuss with the board.
Okay, so Mark, are you recommending that we have a closed session at some point on these to discuss both offers? And
you know, I actually was talking with Commissioner Schutte this morning a little bit about that, and I think that it's probably the best environment to be able to have an open discussion about the offers that we receive. You know, it gives me and our real estate agent Richard Beckman an opportunity to kind of get a perspective of where the board's at, and without actually making that public. And we'd like to what's best for the county and what's the current market kind of out there define. Then we can have those open discussions within a closed session. So definitely wanted to make you aware that these offers were received. I actually had received the first offer on lot 8 with an option for Lot 7 earlier, and had done that one. And then I think on Thursday or Friday received that second offer. So I had to throw it in there too. So that kind of made it a little more complex, because now we're talking about two individuals that want to purchase Lot 7 and 8. So I will schedule a briefing with the board in a closed session where we can have those discussions.
Yeah, and I think having Richard's analysis and input is going to be really helpful as well.
Yeah, I can definitely bring Richard to that meeting.
That'd be great.
Okay, perfect. And I think that's the last item on.
That's the last item on my list. I think Dave's up.
Okay. Actually, if there's like just a quick break, if everybody's okay with that. Come back at 11:05.
Sounds good to me.
11:05, appreciate the break. Dave, let's roll into your briefing.
Sure. Good morning, commissioners. So the first item on our agenda this morning is a request for proposal for completion of the Squaxin Island Tribe and Mason County MOU. I started this work last week, and then as I got into it, decided to I need to take a little bit of a pause on it. So this briefing is really to let you know this is something I'm working on. But I wanted to pause and then get with Kel and with Ian to get a little more in-depth look at exactly which pieces of the MOU I would like to have in the RFP to meet some of the expectations the tribe has around, especially Section 2 of the MOU, and moving forward with that. So the idea here is to, over the next week or so, get with Kel, get with Ian, and then we have a meeting with the tribe later this week, and we'll bring this up as well to see what parts of the, looking at the Johns Creek drainage and at the Goldsboro Creek drainage, as set forth in the MOU, how much of that work is yet to be done and what we need to do going forward. So this is a kind of a heads up of where we're going and just looking for feedback.
Yeah, definitely supportive of doing this. I know, especially in light of Cal mentioning that Melissa is moving over to SCJ. I think having some additional outside contracted help is going to be critical in completing the work outlined in the MOA.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea. Keeping involved and making sure that all of our I's are dotted and T's are crossed. Good idea.
Will do. Okay, so then the next item we have is Kel, and I think Kel's already talked about this a little bit, but if there's anything more that Kel would like to add.
I don't have anything to add, but happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
No, great.
Okay, so then our next item is the ABCD dental contract amendment with Melissa.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. The first item for community health is the ABCD dental contract amendment. We've had this program for many years, and the HCA is increasing our dollars by a little bit more than we've gotten in the past for an additional 2 years. So we're just asking for approval to continue this contract, and that will move to, there's a typo on the briefing sheet. It should be the July 5th action agenda. So that's what we have for ABC Dental, and we have some other housing items. I'm going to go ahead and pass this on to Haley Folch. She is our community health specialist in housing.
Thank you, Melissa. Okay, so the first one that I wanted to discuss today is our Eviction Rent Assistant Program 2.0. So this grant is part of the response to COVID-19, and it's intended to prevent evictions. It is a temporary program, so we are currently looking at closing to new applications effective June 30th. And just focus on processing current applications with the remaining funds. There also will be a little bit more additional funding that will be allocated. So there may be another amendment next month, but we just found out about it. So we wanted to, for this specific one, look at reallocating the unspent Mason County admin of $100,000. And the unallocated funds of $50,368 and subcontract that out. So that way more evictions can be prevented. So the ask is to move this to the action agenda.
I think this is awesome and completely support this.
Yeah, I'm supportive as well. Just does this affect any of the staffing that we brought on that was temporary, that we're funding through any of the COVID related dollars?
Oh, no, Commissioner, this is unrelated to that.
Okay. Okay, all good.
Okay, and thank you. And then I have another one also to present. So the other ask that I have is, so there is a document called Profile on Homelessness in Mason County that was written, and it has both a summary and a very extensive document that talks about kind of the program data. So eviction prevention, coordinated entry, emergency shelters, and all the different components and grants. And then also the system coordination. So things like point in time count, poverty, equity, a lot of really good topics in the housing and homelessness world. And also talking about demographics of the population that we serve in this county. So This one was presented to the Housing and Behavioral Health Advisory Board, and the plans for it is to upload it to our website and to present the information to the community. So the ask here is permission to upload to our website and be able to present it to the community.
I would say yes.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that.
Great, thank you so much, commissioners.
And a quick question. So tomorrow, the city is hosting the homelessness task force. There's a meeting at 9 o'clock down at the Civic Center. And they've invited certain, or I guess specific people, but do you know anything about this, and are you guys planning on attending? I will be there.
So Commissioner, I just talked to the mayor this morning, and we compared notes on this meeting, so I will be there tomorrow.
Oh, great. Yeah, this is the one that we started pre-COVID, and so it's picking back up. So super excited.
Tomorrow at the Civic Center.
Yes. Yep.
And Haley, you have presented to the city council, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Oh, cool. County and city working together. Rock stars, man.
I think that's everything we have for community health. Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa and Haley.
Thank you.
That completes our agenda unless you have any questions.
No questions.
I don't have any questions. Thank you guys for sending out the EOC reports. Those help keep us updated also.
Yeah, there's definitely some changes. I mean, we're seeing COVID certainly climbing. We're having more hospitalizations. We had three more deaths, so we kind of came out of that lull in that April, early May timeframe, and it has ramped up and seems to be level at about 16, 17 cases a day. But as I pointed out in the document, that's probably off by DOH is estimating that to be 1/12 of what's probably out there. So we are experiencing, staffing shortages within the county due to COVID absences.
Yeah, but you know what? If you're sick, stay home.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever you're sick with, stay home.
Right, regardless of what it is. I don't want it.
Yep. Okay, then that's all I have.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks, Melissa. Thanks, Cal. Okay, next up, we'll move into Public Works.
Good morning.
Morning again.
Good morning again. Commissioners, we have about a half a dozen items to brief on, and then a couple of items to add to our discussion this morning. One being an update on Lakeland Village, and also some upcoming meetings regarding Skokomish projects. So first off, I've got no briefing documents here, but would like to share where we are on information related to the Belfair project. And we are currently awaiting some information regarding the appraisals for property needed to construct. And we've heard from the property owner that they are willing to grant temporary construction easements, but at some point those easements need to be turned over to the county and we need to acquire those. So what we've learned is that appraisals are anywhere on the order of about 2 months out and under $10,000. So that's ongoing. We need to determine who we're selecting and get that appraisal underway. We have need for construction management should the project move forward. And this would be for engineering services and inspections. We know that that will be on the order of around $800,000. We do have a grant right now through Commerce that has a balance of approximately $1.1 million. and feel confident that that is adequate to cover the construction management and engineering services and our land requirements for this project. We have one other piece of land to complete securing, and that is the Navy rail crossing as well. And we, of course, have received communication from the Navy that they've approved the plans conceptually. They will grant this easement. We need to complete a record of survey and a legal description and compensate the Navy as well for that easement across. So that is underway as well. Right now, given what the low bid is, the land and the construction management services, we are estimating the project to construct this project to be on the order of about $5.1 million. And we, as I said, have the 1.1 approximate remaining in the grant. The grant currently authorizes the use of those funds for the land necessary for the project. We would need to execute a scope change to be able to use the grant for the purpose of construction management and engineering services, should the project proceed to construction. And I don't anticipate that to be a big hurdle, but nonetheless, we need to make sure that that occurs. One other thing about the grant that we need to be aware of is that it expires mid-year, and that would require reauthorization to be able to extend that through the end of the year, which is what we would expect that the contract term would be. The contract is 365 days from notice to proceed. So the grant would also need to have an extension in terms of when it expires. So that is what we know about the status of the project. You've previously seen various financial scenarios that Richard and Mark have reviewed and shared with you about the financing, the funding for the construction project itself. And Richard can certainly share some highlights about that, but no big changes in terms of our assumptions in that regard. The scenarios that have been previously presented made assumptions that there would be a $5 million project. So that's overestimating what our bid is at this point. But that's nice to be able to make sure it provides a conservative estimate, basically, for commissioners. It also assumes two different scenarios under the Public Works Board loan contract. One that assumes a 0.54% interest rate, and the other at a 0.79% interest rate with slightly different lengths of terms. One is 20 years and one is 22. Richard also prepared scenarios that assumed some use of ARPA funds as well for those two Public Works Board loan scenarios. So that would give commissioners an idea of what that repayment schedule looks like as well.
So,
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Commissioner.
I'm sorry. So the change in the scope of work, is that just for the grant from ecology, the 1.1?
It's actually a grant from Commerce, and yes, it is just for that. Yeah.
Okay.
There was a previous change on the loan agreement that allowed for all of that. Yes. And that's done.
Okay. Great.
Yes. Mark, Richard, any?
I actually didn't. I'm sorry. I just got caught up a little off guard. I actually thought we were not going to brief the board on this morning.
Oh,
you can see it in the agenda.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Since it was on the agenda, Mark, I just wanted to provide a status report.
Oh, okay.
And just hit on some highlights.
Yeah, I definitely want to, and I've talked to both Commissioner Schutte as well as Commissioner Trask in terms of this topic is something that would prefer to have all three commissioners present when we discuss.
Absolutely.
So definitely want to do that. I thank you for the update. I definitely can provide that same update to Commissioner Netherland. But as we get into some of these details that we're talking about, would prefer to have all three commissioners present.
Yes.
That would be great.
All right. Next up, we
Sorry,
have.
just real quick before we move on. So this probably goes without saying, but this will trigger a schedule change for next week because we were anticipating a special meeting on July 6th to award. Is that, I'm assuming that that's getting changed just so that the public is aware?
I personally, I'd like to see us hold that meeting for July 6th because that's an opportunity for us to brief the board on all of the details that Loretta was just talking about. And so we can kind of give you a perspective of where we're at and then present that information to both the commissioners and the public. Be able to answer any questions that come up about that, and then I think that we'd have to schedule another meeting soon after that in order to award the bid, as long as we have all the information that the board is wanting to see, and that we stay in line with our 60-day time frame associated with the bids that we received. So I think that's July, if I'm correct, July 27th is the date that is I'm sorry, 26th, July 26th. So yeah, we'd like to keep that date.
I agree. I agree with what you're saying. Probably just an issue of semantics. So have a meeting in the sense that we'll have a briefing, but not have a special meeting in the sense that we will be taking action to award the low bid. I think that's the point of clarification that I think needs to be made, so that the public is aware that it will be an informational work session versus a meeting in which action will take place on awarding based on the bids that we received.
As much as I'd like to have a decision sooner rather than later, I do think that that's the appropriate path forward.
Okay. Yeah, just so we're all on the same page with that.
And is that special meeting going to be in the morning? The 9 o'clock normal time?
Yeah. On the 6th it is, yes.
Good. And that'll also give us enough time to make sure that everything is on the website so people can review it.
Correct. I had the opportunity to go over the work that Richard and Loretta put together for this, and they've done a lot. So, but it is a lot of work. It's a lot of detail. So definitely having it out there and available for you all to look at and evaluate, as well as the public that's interested in it. Yeah, definitely need to get it out there soon.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, commissioners, is a request to procure materials and services associated with the Russellwood water system improvements. And Richard's here to share that great news.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, I'm not muted. Okay, so this, of course, we got our legislative money for the Belfair water system to do a few different repairs and to purchase materials to upgrade the wiring and stuff like that. But instead of having us come back for each one of these items, that's what we're requesting, that you authorize Public Works to go ahead and procure materials and services and advertise and set bid openings and award contracts, and have the deputy director and or the chair to sign all pertinent project documents for the Russellwood water system upgrades project. So basically that's what we're doing. There's no new information here. We just want to, instead of having to come back and brief and get approval on every component of this is the direction we were hoping to go to make it a little bit more efficient.
And just to clarify, this was the money for, not for the Belfair sewer, but for the Russellwood, right?
For the Russellwood water system, yep.
Yep. I'm good with that.
Great, me as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, and next up, we have a private line occupancy permit. Mike will share with you.
Morning, Commissioners. We've got a request from Joey Manaman for a private line occupancy permit on Lost Lake View Drive for an on-site septic transport line. Terry has reviewed the application and recommends approval.
Sounds good to me.
Yep, it's good as for me as well.
Thank you.
Next item, Commissioners, we're requesting authorization to execute an agreement with Teresa Johnson, CPA Incorporated. And the purpose of this agreement is to provide technical financial services to the department in the absence of our finance director or manager.
Oh, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely good with me.
Yep, we're excited to get them on board, more than excited.
You are.
Yeah, not only our department, but the other finance team as well. So thank you, Commissioners. We'll get rolling on that.
Cool.
All right, and then in terms of discussion, we've got an update to share with you regarding a small spill in Lakeland Village that unfortunately happened during one of the most beautiful summer days. And we're still getting some detail on this, but the bottom line is that right now an emergency repair and pump replacement is underway. So things that we've been working to accomplish for the last year, but have been waiting for parts delayed, we are finally able to accomplish under this emergency situation. So Richards, we're very, very disappointed that this is the situation and sad to report this, but long story short, it's getting fixed and we're moving on that. But Richard is happy to provide some details, Commissioner.
We've been waiting on components, soft starters, variable frequency drives to go along with the new pumps to be installed, since back in March. We keep getting updates, supply chain issues, we keep getting pushed back. And then we had the one pump that was working, it no longer was able to keep up. It was still on, it was still pumping, but it just has lost its ability to keep up. And that resulted in a spill into Lake Anderson on Saturday. Gallonage, I don't know. Still, I don't have a firm grasp on that. I've heard up to 1,000 gallons, but we're still trying to quantify it. We're able to get this work done. The pumps will work. We've got an adapter for what is called a mini CAS, which is the alarm system built into the pump. We're wiring them up to the original soft starters and VFDs. They will work, but we still have the other parts coming to complete this. So we're getting both pumps put in temporarily until we get the new components, and then we'll finish the job completely. But we couldn't get this done under normal circumstances as if you're changing components and they're not light components, then you'll have the panel that all the components are housed in has an UL sticker under it, an underwriter's laboratory sticker that is important to the safety and department of, the L&I inspector requires it. And we could not get an electrician to come out and do the work legally without it either being in an emergency situation or having all of the new components on site. So we were kind of just in this bad situation. Unfortunately, an emergency has occurred. So fortunately, we can get the work done. It is a very frustrating spot to be in. I'll give you that. And I can't apologize to the folks at Lakeland Village and the people that live at Lake Anderson enough. We're trying our best, but it just wasn't good enough this time.
So it's like putting a Ford motor into a Chevy chassis and hoping that the motor mounts fit, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we can make it work. Is it optimum? And no, it's not. It is not going to be the most efficient for those pumps. They will work. They're not going to be damaged at all. But if that will get corrected whenever we receive the components to do it.
So have you talked to the folks that live around the lake?
I haven't personally, but yes, we've unfortunately people were swimming at the time. So yeah, we had to get them out of the lake. Yeah, because this is not one of my favorite things that happened in my career. No. For sure.
Right. Sounds like you're making the best out of a bad situation.
We're trying. I mean, we're trying. And this, all of our pump stations are well, all of our pump stations were in very bad shape like this. And they're all getting brought up to speed, just not fast enough, apparently. But we've knocked off a lot of the problem ones. This will probably be hopefully our last problem one for that gives us this much pause to not sleep at night. But yeah, we definitely extend our apologies to Lakeland Village and its community, and I agree with them. This should never happen, but I've got to go forward from here. It happened.
So is this something that we might want to do a press release or a statement, issue a statement?
You know, I don't know.
I think there's some. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, I'll work with Loretta on formulating some sort of release other than sewage.
Yeah, I think there's some value in that, in just being able to kind of address some of the concerns. I'm sure you saw we received an email this morning from Mr. Nash, who's the VP of the community club up there, and had a number of questions in there. That first and foremost, I know you will respond to, but would like to be copied. I think all of us would like to be copied on that response. Oh, yeah. So we know that's gone out and what the position is. But I think those questions are also would be pertinent in any kind of a release or a statement that we put together. I think those are the things that are on people's minds, as well as having, at least some timeline to attach to when the issues might be resolved, even though there are very clear and obvious supply chain issues. I think that we're all struggling with, but just being able to communicate that with folks out there, I think would be a good first step as well.
I agree.
Yeah, as soon as, well, it's been actually, Richard said March or so, but we began acquisition for the pump and the components about a year ago. So it's been that long, and no constant questions and pressure and follow-up from Justin and Richard, and it's similar throughout the utilities. Richard had to do some arm twisting just for a pump quote here recently. The other things that you might recall, commissioners, that we did was to install the smart covers. They were certainly very useful in this situation. Alerted us to the fact that the pump was not able to keep up. We went out for additional contract services to be able to pump and have emergency pump response. So everything that we have control over, we've taken steps to make sure that we have those backup resources available.
Right, apparently we did have one pumper on site that was there, filled their truck. Their second truck showed up on site and did not have the correct fitting required to suck sewage out of our station. And it was during that time that we had the overflow. So, I mean, we were trying everything that we had, using all the resources that we had available to us and utilizing the, contractors that would respond on the nicest weekend of the year so far. When we had to get an electrician out there to help us that day on Saturday, and then pumper trucks, and it was bad timing, and yeah, there's a lot of regret on this. Actually, just wished it could have gone differently.
Truly unfortunate.
Yeah. We'll follow up, commissioners, with the response to both the Lakeland Village Association and then the news release, and get that out later this afternoon.
Yep.
Okay, next thing, just to let commissioners know, we're preparing a series of outreach efforts on Skokomish projects. And the first will be on the 28th, and that will be held at the Skokomish Community Church from 5:30 to 6:30. And this is just an overall update of the variety of projects that are happening throughout the valley. And then we're planning a follow-up meeting in July, the end of July, the 26th. And that will be to review the Vance Creek and assessment, and the Conservation District will be talking about flood mitigation target setting. And then in August on the 30th, also from 5:30 to 6:30, there will be an update on the Skokomish Valley Road project and habitat improvement project, and some discussion about FEMA and FEMA mapping. And then in mid-October, we will follow up again on the Skokomish Army Corps restoration projects and provide a status update at that time. As things move along, some of these topics may change depending on where we are on various projects, but we'll simply let people know. And commissioners, we'll send out a list of these meeting times and dates, so you've got that available for you. But just wanted to give you a heads up on that effort.
So Loretta, when you say the 28th, you mean tomorrow, the 28th?
Yes.
Great. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And then commissioners, if we've got a minute, if I may share a screen with you, jumping back to the discussion and upcoming retreat. And let's see if I can pull this up. We've talked about some of the detail of projects that we have. This is an example. Can we all see this lovely spreadsheet, commissioners?
Yep.
Okay. So this is our annual construction program. And just real simply color coded, the darker orange that you see on this spreadsheet here are projects that we anticipate to be completed by year end. And the blue are projects that are in progress. So we're certainly working on them, but they were not planned to be 100% completed. And we'll move on to next year. You'll see it on next year's tip as well. So this is just to give you an idea. If this is something that's useful during the retreat, this is one format that we have available. that this is our adopted, approved annual construction program, and just kind of a quickie highlight of what we anticipate, again, to be completed by year end.
That's cool. Yeah, I think that would be very helpful.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see all of the, despite our small but mighty personnel over here, there's a lot that's being picked off and completed in a very timely manner. So hats off to Mike and Jeremy and all of our team. And this is just construction side, so we can do something similar for the maintenance projects. We obviously have our ongoing routine maintenance activities, but there have also been smaller scale non-capital projects that have been accomplished and that we plan to accomplish before year end as well. And breaking news, Mike is writing on my board here that Agate Loop is closed. Red Side Construction is beginning work today on the upper Uncle John's culvert. So that was a planned closure, and that project is underway. So that's exciting. Happy to see them get to work and get in and get out.
I was up there just this weekend and saw the signs out telling people what was going on. So that's good.
Yes.
Speaking of that area, were you able to send out a kind of an update to the people that live there about what's going on with the other issue?
Yep, we have not done that yet, and we will well in advance. We've got the upcoming meeting in July, right, Commissioner?
Right.
Yep. So yes, thank you. We'll get that on our postcard and out.
Great, thank you. And if you could send me a copy, that would be great.
Yes. All right, that's all I have, Commissioners.
Okay. Commissioner Trask, anything for Loretta and team?
Nope.
Okay. I had two quick things, I guess. First and foremost, probably for Commissioner Trask. So I wanted to bring up two issues that I would like to pursue. One is I would like to, now that we have our honorary parks, facilities, buildings, and honorary roads policies worked out, I'd like to propose two honorifics to consider. One, I would like to bring forward a request that we consider renaming our public works facility for Senator Sheldon. His decades of service both to the county and the state and all the projects that he was responsible for, as well as the funding and construction of the public works facility itself out on 101, I think would be an appropriate use of the policy that we just adopted a couple of months ago. If there's some consensus on that, I'd like to ask staff to work on that.
Oh my gosh, I think that's a great idea.
Great. And then the second one is I would like to utilize our honorary roads policy to do an honorary road name at Hartley Waldrop and 101 for Deputy Rachel Stolmiller, who was killed in the line of duty, Mason County Sheriff's Office. That was a jail corrections officer for us coming up on 7 years ago. And so I would like to also use the policy to do that naming if there is some consensus.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's perfect.
So I'm not sure what the mechanics of the policies are, but I can maybe work with Loretta and Mark and Diane on those, bring those forward.
I think that's awesome. And maybe if we could also work on something to honor Senator Sheldon as well. Other, in addition to the Public Works Board building.
Mm-hmm. Great. Great. Well, that's what I'll do. I'll chat with the three of them offline and figure out how to actually implement those policies that we adopted.
Okay.
Great.
Can I ask, maybe Diane knows, have we ever had an egg committee?
An egg committee?
No, not egg, agriculture.
I mean, that's what I was saying. No, what's the purpose?
I think it would just be good to get their input on some of the things that we have going on. I know we have a ton of different committees and you're going, oh, Sharon, no. But it might be something to look into to see if we, you know, if we do need it. I know we have a lot of, the conservation district does a great job in working with them. But I'm wondering if the farmers would like to maybe just join and have their words heard.
Okay, no, I'm not aware of such a committee, but yeah, certainly we can talk when I return and see what it would look like.
Okay, I can do some research too, and I know that other counties have them, and just see how they function and their definite purpose.
Okay, and then I'll work on a proclamation for Senator Sheldon also.
Awesome, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Anything else for Loretta? Okay. Mark, do you have anything? Okay. All right. So that's the end of our agenda. Commissioner Trask, any other commissioner discussion before we?
Oh, I've got nothing.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. Well, with that, we will, if there's no objection, we'll stand adjourned and see everybody back next week.
All right. Have a good one.
All right. Take
Be
care.
cool.